Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Biden wanting to investigate the sale of U.S. steel to Japan-based Nippon Steel, even though Japan is an ally. Now, this is yet 1 million. What is this? The 1,998,951 reasons in which I always like to talk about business, culture, and politics because they're all related. They're all connected. And it's an instance where the government's gotten so big, they have their hands in everything, they regulate every industry. So if you have these types of sales, or this is one of the largest sales, the government, they might just shoot it down. We saw this with Microsoft when they attempted to purchase Activision Blizzard. That only went through after a lot of governments had to sign off on it. And I believe it was the Broadcom purchase of VMware software technology. Well, that took months, almost a year to get signed off by all the government entities. Lastly, China was the last company to actually give them the green light for that. So it's one of those instances where two businesses can come together and say, oh yeah, we agree, we're going to do a sale. The government comes in and go, oh no, not so quick. So this comes to us thanks to Politico, which at least get a B minus for marketing. The name is catchy. And this comes to us thanks to Doug Palmer. And they said the title is actually Biden believes Nippon purchase of U.S. steel deserves, quote, serious scrutiny, unquote. The carefully worded remark shows how the high stakes for Biden if his administration were to block the deal on national security grounds, which is one of those instances where there is a huge part of the defense industry that needs steel. I mean, let's just say you're not making a lot of the tanks for the U.S. military out of carbon fiber yet. So it's an instance where there are a lot of military applications for it, including making bullet-resistant vehicles, as well as bases. There are a myriad of applications. But again, China's been an ally with the U.S. for, decades upon decades. Our cultures are becoming more and more intertwined, and more and more. We have some huge commerce relationships with them, technological, automotive. There's a lot of synergies between the countries, as much as that word can be overused. Now, going down to the article, this comes from an official top White House official. They say President Joe Biden believes Japan's company's Nippon Steel planned purchase of the iconic American company U.S. Steel deserves scrutiny because of potential national security and supply chain concerns. Now, I'm not sure about supply chain concerns because, again, they're not moving these factories out. Some of these kilns and furnaces are never turned off. They're huge, the size of Volkswagens. Or perhaps a better metaphor would be a Toyota, the Sequoia? Since it's a Japanese automotive company, probably should have used that metaphor first. But nevertheless, now, Biden said, quote, has been clear that we welcome manufacturers across the world building their futures in America with American jobs and American workers. However, he believes that the purchase of the iconic American-owned company by a foreign entity, even though it's a commercial ally, deserves serious scrutiny in terms of its potential impact on national security and supply chain reliability. Which, I was actually still shocked that they were willing to sell the company. They sold it for a huge premium, which is why the board of directors haven't approved on it. But U.S. Steel, they've been around for about 122 years. It was founded by some of the largest business magnates of all time. We're talking about Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan. Some of the biggest business magnates in history. Now, they continue to argue, saying the carefully worded remarks show the high stakes for Biden if his administration, through the Interagency Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, were to block the deal on national security grounds, since that would send a negative signal to the rest of the world about the openness of the U.S. economy to foreign investment. Now, they noted that the U.S. Steelworkers Union opposes the proposed sale, and a number of politicians have called for CFIUS to review to determine whether it be blocked by national security grounds. They said, continued, quote, this looks like the type of transaction that the Interagency Committee on Foreign Investments Congress empowered and the Biden administration strengthened is set up to carefully investigate. This administration will be ready to carefully look at the findings of any such investigation and act if appropriate, unquote. The Department of Defense requires a range of steel products for weapons and related defense systems. The Trump administration estimated that the total demand at about 3% U.S. steel production. However, in regards to that level is large enough to justify imposing a 25% tariff on steel imports from around the world. U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel have already said that they expect CFIUS to review the transaction. So it'll be interesting to see if it goes through at the end of the day. And it'll be interesting to see how these companies, and what the vernacular is around the acquisition and how the companies will work together. In some instances, again, not all, but in some instances, you have instances where You have a company just buy out another company, and they treat it almost as an independent subsidiary, and they take some of the profits. And there's a lot of benefits in terms of increased purchasing power for raw materials, logistics, supply of other anecdotal materials, and including the raw materials. So there are a lot of benefits in those cases, but they have their own separate management. We saw this when Hewlett Packard Enterprise purchased Aruba Networks, which I was probably an employee of back in the day. When Kirti, one of the co-founders of Aruba Networks, agreed to the acquisition, they said they were going to have a separate CEO, separate building, separate president, separate office, separate support. So for many years, they treated, excuse me, I'm sorry, Aruba Networks was almost as a independent subsidiary. I used to joke as the biggest small business out there because there are many additional benefits of being part of Hewlett Packard Enterprise in terms of when you're buying anything, you get the huge buying power of a larger company. You have more logistics. You have more data that you can integrate with sales data. You have more negotiating power with health insurance providers when you're negotiating those. There are a lot of benefits of being a part of a larger business. And because they're treated as an independent subsidiary in many ways, they're able to still move and operate at a quick speed like an entrepreneurial based small company. And I always say that was probably one of the very few successful big acquisitions I've seen, especially in the tech industry, where they're so notorious for buying a company. And this is the kind of the antithesis of the situation. You had an instance where Hewlett Packard Enterprise purchased, it was SimpliVity, which was a storage company, or a data storage company. Now, in that case, they bought out the company, and within about 6 to 12 months, everything was gone. So the CEO, all the executives, all the sales reps, they were all gone. And what they purchased was the intellectual property, the software, and a little bit of the hardware. They were able to take that and then they put it on all of Hewlett Packard Enterprise's intellectual property, all their products. So that's an instance where they buy them out and they basically just swallow it whole. So in this case with Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel, what could help, and again, I haven't seen the actual document and it's still pending, approval. It would be interesting to see if they do treat it as almost like an independent subsidiary and they give some type of priority to U.S. government contracts. That may make the government more likely to approve the sale and less likely for them to scrutinize it. That may be one instance. Again, with government contracts, if they were to get on, it's presumably they're already on the GSA and a lot of these other government purchasing entities and mechanisms, and they can be quite lucrative. And the hardest part of those contracts is just getting authorized and getting on those contracts. And then once you're on it, you just have to maintain them. And in theory, of course, as business, you want to grow your revenue and sales over time. So it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of political uncertainty, and with the global geopolitical instances, we've depleted a lot of our military resources, giving them to other countries, so we do need to restock them. So we're going to need a lot more steel to replenish all those devices and all those machineries, all those vehicles that we've been shipping and selling throughout the globe. So I suspect in 2024 there will be an increased demand for steel by the Department of Defense, as well as other U.S.-based entities, including the automotive community, if they were to ramp up their numbers, that being another wide demand industry that needs steel. But let me know in the comments, do you think at the end of the day, will this be shot down just because of the optics of having, again, 122 U.S.-based manufacturer, which does have, I understand the national security implications of that, but it's also being purchased by Japan, where we have a long-standing ally relationship with them. And again, they're not moving these furnaces, as far as I can tell, in these big foundries. These foundries are astronomically large and complex. And as far as I know, there's no plans to shut down a majority of them or to move them off-site. This will be operating in the U.S. So it'll be fascinating to see how this results. But it is another important instance where, if you're a business, you do need to be involved in politics, because politics is very much involved in you. So let me know. I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say with this instance. But if I were a gambling man, granted I like to just gamble on myself and put the money back into the business and the team. But if I were a traditional gambling man, I'd say the outlook is maybe 50-50 on it getting approved, because it is one of the largest acquisitions. Again, I'm not a doctor. However, if you click the subscribe button, it may help with my stuttering and my speaking ineptitudes. It's by no means 100%. Very few things in life are. But I suspect if you click the button, it very well may assist. You look at the first videos I made, a lot more stuttering, did not enunciate as much. I spoke even faster back then. So if you click that button, I think it might help, and I would greatly appreciate it, because trying to get to, again, 4,000 subscribers by the end of December. And again, let me know in the comments. It'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, again, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of December. Still a little bit of time, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better, as I do want to constantly improve the product and make everyone more excited to tune in and tune in again. Also, leaving a thumbs up is a great way to let me know I'm on the right track, as well as I think it helps with the YouTube algorithm to get shared more. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.